Picture this, a nonna in the 1950s, cooking the way her mother taught her, and told by every glossy magazine that she was doing it all wrong. Too much fat, too much bread, too old-fashioned. Throw out the lard, they said, and buy the new stuff in the box. Well, one by one, science has quietly circled back and admitted she was right all along. Today we're counting down 25 old Italian kitchen habits that were once frowned upon and are now called genius. And stay for number 1, the too much olive oil, secret that turns out to be one of the healthiest things she ever did. Let's get into it. Number 25. She cooked her pasta firm with a real bite and refused to boil it soft. For years, soft, sticky pasta was considered properly cooked, and Italians were teased for serving it hard in the middle. A nonna would drop the pasta in fiercely boiling, well-salted water, then pull it a full minute before the box said, when it still fought the tooth just a little, and finish it in the sauce. And it turns out that firm, al dente pasta is digested more slowly than mushy pasta, so it releases its energy gently instead of all at once. That stubborn little bite she insisted on wasn't only about taste. It was quietly the smarter way to eat it. She was right, and everyone who mushed their pasta was wrong. And the next habit was one they mocked even harder. Number 24. She poured raw olive oil over everything at the end. The vegetables, the soup, the beans. In the middle of the last century, diet culture screamed that oil was pure fat, and fat was the enemy. So a generous glug of green oil over your greens looked reckless. But a nonna would finish a plate of cooked chicory or a bowl of bean soup with a slow, unapologetic drizzle straight from the bottle right before it hit the table. Here is what she knew in her hands and science later spelled out. Many vitamins in vegetables are fat-soluble, which means your body can only absorb them properly when there's a little fat present. That raw drizzle wasn't excess. It was the thing that unlocked the goodness in the greens underneath. If bringing back these old habits sounds good to you, subscribe. We're bringing back the wisdom the world threw away. And the next one they threw out far too fast. Number 23. She kept a pot of beans, lentils, and chickpeas going every week and never once apologized for peasant food. For decades, legumes were looked down on as what poor people ate when they couldn't afford meat. A nonna would soak dried beans overnight, then simmer them slow and gentle with a rind of Parmesan, a clove of garlic, a sage leaf, and a good drizzle of oil, salting them only at the end so the skins stayed tender. That one humble pot fed the whole family for pennies. And today, those same legumes are celebrated for their fiber and plant protein, the backbone of the Mediterranean way of eating that experts now hold up as one of the healthiest on earth. What was dismissed as poor food turned out to be some of the richest eating there is, and the next one hid in her flour bin. Number 22. She baked with slow, natural sourdough, lievito madre, not quick packet yeast. When fast commercial yeast arrived and bread became a 2-hour job, her days-long sourdough starter looked like stubbornness and wasted time. But a nonna fed that starter like a pet, a spoonful of flour and water every day, and let her dough rise slowly overnight instead of rushing it. That long, slow fermentation partly breaks down the dough as it works, which many people find makes the bread easier to digest, and it builds a deep, tangy flavor no shortcut can fake. Now sourdough is the loaf everyone lines up and pays extra for. The exact thing she made for free with patience and a jar on the counter. And speaking of slow, the next one simmered for hours. Number 21. She made rich broth from bones and scraps that everyone else threw in the bin. The chicken carcass, the beef bones, the Parmesan rind, the wilting celery tops and onion skins. Into a big pot of water they all went, to simmer for hours into a golden brodo. For years, this looked like poverty cooking, making something out of nothing. Then the world rediscovered bone broth, bottled it, and charged a small fortune, because that long, gentle simmer draws collagen and minerals out of the bones into a nourishing, comforting liquid. A nonna kept a container of it ready to turn into soup, to cook her risotto, to sip when someone felt low. She never paid a cent for it. She simply never wasted a bone. And the next one they called her crazy for keeping. Number 20. She whipped her egg whites in an old copper bowl and swore it worked better. People laughed. "A bowl is a bowl," they said, "but this one is pure chemistry." As you whisk, tiny traces of copper from the bowl react with the egg whites and form a more stable foam, one that holds its peaks far longer and is much harder to ruin by overbeating. A nonna didn't know the word ion. She just knew that her meringues stood up taller and her zabaglione turned silkier in that battered old copper bowl than in anything else in the house. So that was the bowl she always reached for. And decades later, modern kitchens quietly rediscovered exactly why she was right. The next one sat on her table at every single meal. Number 19. She served the oily little fish, sardines and anchovies, and was called poor for it. For years, these small, cheap fish were dismissed as peasant food, something you ate only when you couldn't afford a proper fillet. A nonna melted anchovies into her sauces and greens, where they vanished and left nothing but a deep, savory richness, and she grilled fresh sardines with just lemon, oil, and a little salt. Today, those same small, oily fish are called superfoods, prized for the omega-3 fats that the expensive white fillets have far less of. Cheap, humble, and quietly one of the best things she ever put on the table. She fed her family like royalty and paid like a pauper. And the next habit was the one modern life fought the hardest. Number 18. She ate small plates, slowly, over long meals, and never snacked between them. The modern world of grab and go, snacks in the car, meals in 10 minutes, something in your hand all day, looked at her 3-hour Sunday lunch as hopelessly out of date. But a nonna's day had real meals at real times and long, genuine gaps between them, with no constant nibbling. And that rhythm is close to what researchers now describe when they talk about giving the body proper breaks from food. She wasn't following any plan or app. She was just eating the way people always had, at the table, together, in no hurry, and then not again until the next meal. And the next one she flatly refused to give up. Number 17. She kept using real butter and whole milk when the world pushed her toward margarine. In the middle of the last century, the new tubs of margarine were sold as the modern, healthy choice, and real butter was cast as the villain. A nonna wouldn't hear of it. Butter was food, she recognized, that pale stuff in the tub was not. And she went right on, using a knob of real butter in her risotto and whole milk in her bechamel. And she was quietly vindicated, because we later learned those old margarines were full of the very trans fats now known to be genuinely harmful, while real butter, used sensibly, was never the monster it was painted as. She trusted the food she could recognize. These are old kitchen traditions, by the way, not medical advice. Always do what's right for your own health. And the next one is still argued about today. Number 16. She fried and baked with lard, strutto, the way her family had for centuries. When animal fats were blamed for nearly everything, lard became almost a dirty word, and everyone was pushed toward the new processed oils. A nonna kept her little pot of rendered lard for frying and for pastry, and it gave her a crust so flaky and tender that butter alone could never match it. And the science here has grown far more nuanced than that old blanket ban. Researchers today take a much more measured view of traditional, minimally processed fats used in moderation than they did 50 years ago. She never drowned her food in it. She used a spoonful, the way her grandmother had, and it made her cooking sing. If a nonna in your family cooked like this, subscribe and help us keep her secrets alive. And the next one protected her vegetables' goodness. Number 15. She barely cooked her vegetables. A quick sauté, a fast blanch, still bright and crisp. The old idea that vegetables should be boiled to gray mush was never hers. A nonna would toss greens into a hot pan with garlic and oil for 2 or 3 minutes, or drop them into boiling water only until they flashed vivid green, then pull them at once. It turns out she was protecting them because many vitamins are delicate and water-soluble, and long boiling both leaches them out into the water and destroys them with heat. Quick and bright kept the nourishment in the food. Overcooked and drab poured it straight down the drain with the cooking water. Her vegetables tasted alive because they still were. And the next one is the whole reason her food tasted of the season. Number 14. She ate strictly with the seasons and thought buying strawberries in winter was madness. Before everything was flown in from everywhere all year, a nonna ate tomatoes in August and oranges in December because that was simply what was ripe, cheap, and good. She'd buy what the market had that week and cook around it, putting up the summer glut in jars for the winter. For a while, year-round everything felt like progress, and eating seasonally looked quaint. Now, seasonal, local, farm to table is the thing every good restaurant boasts about because food eaten in its true season is riper, more flavorful, and often more nourishing than something picked hard and shipped across the world. She wasn't being quaint. She was eating the best possible version of everything. And the next one perfumed her whole kitchen. Number 13. She used garlic by the handful and never worried who could smell it. Polite modern cooking sometimes treated strong garlic as crude or embarrassing. A nonna crushed clove after clove into the sauce, the greens, the roast, the bread, warming it gently in oil so it turned sweet and golden instead of bitter, both for the flavor and because her family had always believed garlic was good for you. Today, garlic is one of the most studied kitchen plants in the world, long tied in tradition to well-being, and nobody laughs anymore at a cook who loves it. She led with her nose and her heritage, not with embarrassment about her breath. And the next one grew right on her windowsill. Number 12. She cooked with fresh herbs at every meal, not as a decoration you push aside. When food got modern and processed, herbs shrank down to a lonely sprig of garnish on the edge of the plate. To a nonna, they were real ingredients. Rosemary tucked under the roast potatoes, sage crisped in butter for the ravioli, oregano rubbed between her fingers over the tomatoes. She grew them in pots by the kitchen door and used them with a heavy, confident hand. Beyond all that flavor, these humble herbs are packed with the very natural compounds that make plants aromatic and colorful, the same ones nutrition keeps taking a closer look at. What the modern plate treated as garnish, she treated as food. And the next one she made entirely from things you throw away. Number 11. She turned yesterday's stale bread into today's best meal and never bought a breadcrumb in her life. Throwing bread away would have been almost a sin in her house. Nonna turned hard bread into ribollita, that thick Tuscan soup of bread, beans, and greens simmered together, or into papa al pomodoro, bread melted into tomato until it was pure comfort in a bowl, or simply grated it, toasted the crumbs in oil, and showered them over the pasta. What looked like scraping by was actually resourceful, delicious, zero-waste cooking. The exact anti-waste ideal the food world now preaches from every corner. Nothing ever left her kitchen as garbage. It left as dinner. And the next one sat right on her table in a humble crock. Number 10. She kept preserved vegetables, giardiniera and the like, put up in salt and vinegar, and ate a little with meals. Store shelves full of fresh everything, all year, made home-preserving look old-fashioned and pointless. But a nonna's crock of vegetables in a proper salt and vinegar brine kept cool, gave her crunchy, tangy food through the lean months, and a real taste of living tradition the fragile can't match. Her way was always the safe and simple one. Plenty of salt, real acid, and cold storage. Never sealed up and left sitting warm. Fermented and pickled foods are having their big moment again, and for good reason. That tang is a little bit of life on the plate. and the next one she drank every single morning. Number 9. She finished with a tiny, strong coffee from the little mocha pot, never a giant milky bucket of it. For years, coffee was treated as a guilty vice you were meant to cut down on. But Nonna's coffee was different by design. A small, intense espresso or mocha, screwed together on the stove and sipped slowly after a meal, not a vat of it sugared and gulped from morning to night. And a modest amount of good coffee, enjoyed exactly that way, is now viewed far more kindly than the old warnings suggested, with researchers pointing to the natural compounds inside the bean itself. Small, strong, and savored, the way she always took it. And the next one is why nothing in her kitchen ever went to waste. Number 8. She used the whole animal and the whole vegetable. Nose to tail, root to peel. The tough cuts, the offal, the bones, the peels and leafy tops that other people binned all became something delicious in her hands. A rich ragu coaxed from a cheap, tough cut over hours, crackling from the skin, stock from the rest, a soup from carrot tops and stems. For a while, this looked like simply doing without. Now, the very best restaurants build their whole reputations on exactly this nose to tail, root to stem cooking, both to honor the animal and the plant and to waste nothing at all. She did it out of respect and necessity long before it had a fashionable name, and the next one she poured on generously before it was ever cool. Number 7. She dressed almost everything in extra virgin olive oil, raw, cooked, morning and night. In the age of processed vegetable oils sold as modern and neutral, Nonna's heavy reliance on good, green, peppery olive oil looked stubborn and, once again, like too much fat. She cooked in it, finished. With it, dipped her bread in it, even took a spoonful on its own. Today, extra virgin olive oil is the celebrated cornerstone of the Mediterranean table, prized for the natural compounds that give it that peppery catch at the back of the throat. The everyday fat her family had trusted for centuries, the one the magazines told her to replace, turned out to be the good stuff all along. And the next one she simply refused to buy. Number 6. She cooked everything from scratch and kept boxed, packaged food out of her kitchen. When convenience food arrived, promising to free women from the stove, cooking every meal by hand looked like refusing progress. Nonna kept doing it anyway. Real tomatoes she crushed herself. Real flour she weighed by feel. Real everything, with nothing added that she couldn't name or pronounce. And the whole modern movement toward eating real food and steering clear of heavily processed products is, in the end, just slowly catching up to the way she cooked her entire life. Simple, whole, and made by her own 2 hands. She never needed a label because she was the label. And the next one she cooked in a pan of solid iron. Number 5. She cooked in cast iron and clay and swore the old pans were better for you. Shiny new non-stick pans were sold as the modern miracle, and her heavy black skillet and terracotta pots looked like relics from another century. But Nonna's cast iron actually passes a little natural iron into the food, especially with a long, acidic tomato sauce, a small but genuine benefit, while her well-seasoned iron and earthenware carried none of the questions that have followed some modern coatings over the years. She trusted the honest materials her family had cooked in for generations, scrubbed them with salt, and passed them down. Heavy, humble, and quietly wise. And the next one she kept right at the center of the table. Number 4. She kept a little wine and a good vinegar at the heart of the meal, always used with respect. In her kitchen, a splash of wine deglazed the pan and melted into the sauce, and a few drops of aged vinegar brightened a finished dish or dressed the greens. There was a long-held belief in her tradition that a little good vinegar taken with a meal was good for you, and it's an idea modern kitchens have taken a fresh interest in. Nothing was ever to excess. Always a splash, always with food, always part of the shared table, and never a thing apart from it. Moderation itself was the secret, and she practiced it without ever naming it. And that quiet idea of balance carries us into the last three, the biggest of them all. Number 3, she never counted a single calorie in her life and never dieted. She just ate real food in real portions at the table. While the modern world lurched from one fad diet to the next, weighing and forbidding and feeling guilty, Nonna simply ate good, whole, home-cooked food, stopped the moment she was satisfied, and spent her days on her feet, moving. No powders, no plans, no punishment. And that unglamorous approach, real food, sensible amounts, an active life, and meals shared with people you love, is, quietly, what most sensible voices still come back to after every fad has burned itself out. She never needed the fads because she never left the wisdom in the first place. And the next one is the thread that held it all together. Number 2, she ate at the table with the whole family, slowly, with no screen and no rush. Long after meals became something grabbed alone and swallowed fast, Nonna still set the table properly, called everyone in to sit, and turned dinner into an hour that belonged to the family and nothing else. It looked sentimental, even inefficient, in a busy modern world. But eating slowly, together, and actually paying attention to your food is tied to eating more mindfully and feeling more satisfied with less. And to something harder to measure, the simple, steadying well-being of belonging somewhere. In her kitchen, the meal was never only about the food. And now, number 1, the secret they mocked the very most, that turned out to be the most golden of all. Number 1, she simmered her tomatoes low and slow in a generous pool of olive oil for hours, and everyone told her it was far too much fat. That rich red sauce, glistening with oil, bubbling gently on the back of the stove all afternoon, was exactly the thing modern diet advice warned against. And it turns out to be one of the smartest things in the whole kitchen. Tomatoes are rich in a natural red pigment called lycopene. And here is the beautiful part. Cooking them slowly, in fat, is precisely what frees that lycopene and lets your body actually absorb it. Far more than from a cold, raw tomato. So the long simmer wasn't excess, and the pool of oil wasn't a mistake. Together, they were quietly the most nourishing way she could have made that sauce, and she did it simply because her grandmother did, not because any study ever told her to. She was right all along. These are old kitchen traditions shared for enjoyment, not medical advice. Always talk to your own doctor. So there they are, 25 old Italian kitchen habits the modern world once looked down on, and one by one had to admit were right. And when you lay them all out, you start to see the real secret underneath them all. This was a woman who never chased a trend, never read a diet book, never threw out the old way because a magazine told her to. She cooked real food, wasted nothing, ate slowly at a full table, and trusted the wisdom that had been handed to her across generations. And somehow, decades later, science keeps knocking on her door to tell her she was right. Maybe the lesson isn't that she was ahead of her time. Maybe it's that the old time knew things we were in far too much of a hurry to keep. So let me leave you with this. What did your nonna or your grandmother always do in the kitchen that people teased her for, and that turned out to be right all along? Tell me down below. Subscribe and cook along with us as we bring back the wisdom the world was in such a rush to throw away.